Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys the XFL Week 4 breakdown. I'm going to be talking about every single game that happened this weekend from Saturday all the way to Sunday, and then talk about what I think about for next week's XFL games. I'll give you guys a breakdown of the standings as they stand after Sunday's games. Now, the first game we're going to be talking about here on the Saturday game, the first game that was played was the LA Wildcats, who were 1-2 before this game, versus the New York Guardians, my New York Guardians, who were 1-2 before the game as well. A very evenly matched game. The Guardians ended up winning this game 17-14. Now that makes the Guardians go all the way up to 2-2, and the Wildcats fall to 1-3. The New York Guardians finally do what I believe they should have done for the last couple of weeks, and that is can Mr. Matt McGloin. They sat Matt McGloin on the ground, and you know what happened? Or on the bench, I should say. And you know what happened? They let Perez ball out of control. Perez, 18 completions on 26 attempts for a 69 completion rating, or completion percentage. Nice. 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 96.6 QB rating. A great game out of Mr. Perez over there for the Guardians. The Guardians defense did actually play quite well in this game. It seemed like the weeks before they were not playing too hot, but now with the change at the quarterback position, they decided to ball out of control and start to try to win the game for the team because they were not being led by an idiot in Matt McGloin. Now, the rushing game for the Guardians actually was very, very, very good. They let Victor run the ball 18 times for 82 yards and 0 touchdowns. Cook got the ball 8 times for 32 yards. The Guardians love to run the ball, and the Guardians are very successful at running the ball in this game. I honestly do not know why they strayed away from running the ball multiple points during this game. It seems like it was going to be very easy to run the ball, and at points they just strayed away and tried to pass the ball when they just did not need to. Though they would run the ball and they'd get they get 5 yards pretty much every single time. 4.6 for Victor, 4 per carry for Cook. So it made no sense to me why they weren't just running the rock down their throat. They ended up carrying the ball a bunch of times, over 28 times, I believe, here in this game. So a great game overall for the running game. In the passing game, the touchdowns was scored by Mr. McKay for the New York Football Guardians. Pearson, 6 targets on 5 receptions for 34 yards. Powell, 4 for 3 for 34 yards. Ibbs, 2 receptions, 2 targets, 24 yards on the game. Now for the Wildcats, their quarterback Joshua Johnson, I believe his name, Josh Johnson, 25 completions on 40 attempts, 63 completion percentage, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 INT. The running game for the Wildcats looked nothing like what the Guardians were doing. The Guardians were pounding the rock, and the Wildcats were just handing the ball off every once in a while, and they don't really have a lead back on this team. If you see the Guardians, they give the ball to Victor 18 times. That's 10 times more than the second back in Cook. But no, the Wildcats gave the ball 5 times to Harris, 5 times to Rose, 1 time to Hood, 1 time to the quarterback, and then 1 time to Whitehood. It makes no sense that you need to find a running back for your team, but it does kind of make sense to me because these teams, they don't really know which running back is going to be the best for the future, and a lot of these teams, they're all pretty equal talent at the running back position, so I can see why they're really using a running back by committee. Now, McBride continues to be a star, as well as Smallwood for this Wildcats team. 12 targets for McBride, 8 receptions, 1 touchdown, and 127 yards. Smallwood, 7 targets, 5 receptions, and 75 yards. A great game out of those two. Obviously, the Guardians ended up winning this game, but the Wildcats don't look like a terrible team. They actually look like a very competent team, a team that I could see finishing in maybe the 3rd to 2nd place range in the XFL West. There are some teams to me that are much worse than them. So I think the Wildcats will be okay. I think the Guardians will be in the same area, maybe 3rd, maybe 2nd in the division. I wouldn't be surprised if they were 4th, though, because the Guardians look strong now, but I just don't know if it is going to collapse again. Week 1, we looked like world beaters. Week 2, week 3, we looked like we were going to get bent over and fucked repeatedly. Next game on the slate here for Saturday was the Seattle Dragons, who before this game were 1-2 versus the St. Louis Battlehawks, who were 2-1. The St. Louis Battlehawks continue to look like one of the best teams in the XFL and the team to beat in the XFL coming in today. 23 to 16. The Battlehawks ended up winning last night. Their quarterback, Jay Tamu, seems to be I don't know what they call him, the running Samoan or something like this. This dude's the throwing Samoan. This dude is a beast. 20 completions on 27 attempts, 74 completion percentage, 264 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 INTs, and 116 quarterback rating. An amazing game yet again out of Tamu. Now, the thing is, those stats don't look amazing. He didn't throw 3-4 touchdowns, but you know what he did do is control the game, and that's what really matters for this team. He is a guy that is a game manager, and when needed, he can ball out of control for the team. Tamu is also a great running quarterback, or I guess a scrambling quarterback. Tamu, 16 touches in the ground when he went to scramble, 63 total yards, and no touchdowns in the running game, but overall a great game. They have one of the XFL, or the NFL GOATs in Christian Michael in the backfield. 12 attempts for 27 yards and no touchdowns. At Ford ended up scoring a touchdown, 3 attempts for 23 yards, and 1 total TD for him. In the passing game, they do spread the ball out a decent amount. Pearson L, 5 for 5 for 71 yards and 1 total touchdown. Mumphrey, 2 for 2 for 51. Relly, 5 targets on 3 receptions for 46 yards, and a bunch of other guys got the ball as well. Now, do we have a bit of a quarterback controversy in the Seattle area? Now, Daniels, 10 attempts. Silvers, 10 attempts. Who's the quarterback for this team? To me, I think Silvers is just fine. Silvers may have ended up getting hurt in this game. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, that may have been what ended up happening. But at the end of the day, the Dragons really do not seem to be committed to any guy on that team. Silvers 4 for 10 for 40%, 27 yards. That's not very good. 5 for 10 for Daniels, 50 completion ratio, 1 total touchdown, and 1 INT. Just like the other team we spoke about before that the Guardians were playing up against, the Wildcats. They do not really commit to the run here, this team at all. The Seattle Dragons, 7 touches for Daniels, 84 yards, 0 touchdowns. Kenneth Farrow, 5 attempts for 26 yards and 1 total touchdowns. Garner got the ball, and so did T. Williams. In the passing game, the guy that I believe to be the best wide receiver in the XFL, if not one of the best, is Profil, who was held to 5 targets, only 1 reception for 1 total yard. A very down game for one of the best wideouts in the XFL. Clearly, the quarterback play is not too hot for Profil. I think he will have a bounce-back game next week, given they are ready to go with whoever they decide to start next week. Now, if you scroll down here even more, Reynolds, obviously the guy who's passing the ball 1 time for 2 attempts, is a wide receiver who got the ball 4 targets, 1 reception, 4 yards. Johnson, 1 for 1 for 21. None of these other guys are really worthy of talking about. The Battlehawks do look like a great team. They have a great defense, and like I said, Tamu just has to control the game for the team. He does not really have to go out there and do something amazing for them to win. He can do that. He does have the talent to do it, but he doesn't necessarily need to do it for the Battlehawks to win. So I think that this Battlehawks team going up now to become 3-1, number 1 in the XFL East, a team that is definitely a team that can go out there and win some big games for the boys out in St. Louis. That stadium also looked very packed, guys. I don't know if you guys are watching these games, if you're just listening to me. If you guys are new to this channel, click that subscribe button and leave down below who your XFL team is and what you thought of the games in Week 4. Like I was saying, though, that dome is packed. It seems like the St. Louis Battlehawks do have a lot of fans. Now, the Roughnecks going into this game were 3-0, and the Dallas Renegades were 2-1. Houston Roughnecks 27, Dallas Renegades 20. Now, in this game, if I'm being honest with you, this was the Battle of Texas, and the Roughnecks looked very strong, but the Renegades actually came back into this game, a game that I thought was over at the beginning of the game when Landry Jones threw not 1, not 2, but 3 INTs, 3 interceptions in the first quarter of the game. Typically, when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter of the game, you are looking like you're fucked. You are looking like this game is over. You're looking like crying and having some more sadness if you are a Dallas fan, but no, Landry Jones came back and reemerged like he was the football Christ. 25 completions on 38 attempts for 66 completion ratio, 205 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs for a 55.3 quarterback ratio now, or rating. Now, at the end of the game, he did end up getting hurt on a QB rush, and then Nelson had to come in the game 1 for 3 for 0 touchdowns and 11 yards. Now, Given if Landry Jones did not get hurt, I think that the Renegades ended up scoring in that situation. They were balling down the field. They were looking like they were going to score, and then Nelson ended up making some costly plays, and they did not end up winning the game. Now, at the end of the day, I think that this Renegades team is pretty good. They're definitely worthy of the 2-3 spot in the XFL West, but the Roughnecks just had them. The Roughnecks have one of the best quarterbacks in the XFL, if not the best guy. I think Tamu's up there, but Walker is up there as well. Walker, Texas Ranger, 25 completions on 41 attempts for a 61% completion percentage, 239 yards, 2 total touchdowns, and 1 INT for a quarterback rating of 83.3. In the passing game for the Houston Roughnecks, in the receiving game, I should say, 10 targets for Mr. Holly, 8 receptions for 97 yards, and 1 total touchdown. Jackson, 3 for 2, and 26 for 1 total touchdown. And Lewis, 10 targets for 6 receptions and a total of 53 yards. A great game out of the Roughnecks offense. Butler touches the ball 11 times for 39 yards. Williams, 2 for 18. And Walker, the quarterback, 5 for 17 in the rushing game. So just like the Guardians, the Roughnecks have found their running back. They have their guy. Butler is the guy that's going to be getting the ball a majority of the time. They're not a very run-heavy team. They like to pass the rock with Walker. They believe they have the best quarterback in the game. The rushing game for the Dallas Renegades, Lance Dunbar, 9 attempts for 48 yards and 1 total touchdown. The ex-Dallas Cowboy, Cameron Artis-Payne, 12 for 31 and 0 touchdowns. Both quarterbacks rushed the ball 1 for 6 and 1 for 2. Huge prayers up to Mr. Landry Jones, of course, who I told you got hurt running the ball. You never want to see injuries like that. It looked like the XFL commentators were telling you that it was like the Pat Mahomes injury when he was on the Chiefs, and he ended up getting hurt. But that's okay, because if it's anything like that, it means that Landry Jones is going to come back in a couple of weeks and lead the Renegades to win the XFL championship game. In the passing games, Param seemed to be getting targeted heavily in this game. 10 targets on 6 receptions for 56 yards and 1 total touchdown. Nagel, 6 for 6 and 0 touchdowns for 76 total yards. Cameron Artis-Payne getting it done in the passing game, 8 for 5 for 23 total yards. Now, a great game here, a back and forth affair, an affair where the Roughnecks defense showed that they were great, and the offense also showed that they were great. Their defense is truly one of the best defenses in the league. Actually, in my opinion, probably the best defense in the league. The Roughnecks are a very scary opponent now, 4-0. Next game on the slate here, the final game, the Sunday night football game, the DC Defenders up against the Tampa Bay Vipers. The DC Defenders coming into this game at 2-1. Last week they fell. They ended up losing, but it seemed like this could be the redemption game up against the garbage Tampa Bay Vipers, who were 0-3 before this game. But psych, that is the wrong fucking number. Tampa Bay Vipers 25, DC Defenders 0. This DC Defenders team looks fraudulent. I am going to stamp the fraudulent stamp on the DC Defenders. These guys fucking suck a fat one. The DC Defenders are a terrible team. The DC Defenders are choke artists. Cordero Jones, what happened to being 13-0, you dumb motherfucker? 9 of 22 for 72 total yards. 1 INT. What the fuck are you doing? The Vipers defense is terrible. The Vipers defense allowed 9 total touchdowns in the first 3 games. The Defenders can't score a single one. That's 3 a fucking game, Defenders. What are you doing? The DC Defenders are a straight up embarrassment to the XFL and to DC. Pumphrey got the rock 7 times for 34 yards for the Defenders. Brasset, 6 for 12, nothing. Pumphrey, 3 for 3 for 32 yards. It doesn't even matter what the fuck the DC Defenders offense did. Their defense was also terrible. The Vipers literally bent them over and fucked them into submission. Cornelius, 24 for 31, 77 completion ratio, 211 total yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT for a 92.3 quarterback rating. Guess what Cordell Jones's quarterback rating was? 30. Embarrassing. Smith, 24 for 122 yards. Patrick, 21 attempts for 108 yards and 1 total touchdown. They had 2 rushers go for over 100 yards. This DC Defenders defense a few weeks ago was looking electric. They were flying all across the field, making amazing plays. This week, the Tampa Bay Vipers, who had not won a game before tonight, they go at home and they whoop their ass. Williams, 11 targets for 7 receptions, 72 yards, 0 total touchdowns. Tolliver, 4 for 4, like at fucking Wendy's for 45 total yards. 3 for 3 for Goldsby, 41 total yards. Horn, 6 for 5 for 23. Goldsby also ended up scoring a touchdown. An embarrassing game for the DC Defenders. If I am a DC Defenders fan, I am embarrassed. The DC teams continue to embarrass. Unless you're the Washington Capitals, you fucking suck. The Redskins are terrible. The Defenders are terrible. I feel bad for you if you are a DC Defenders fan. Now we're going to pull up the schedule here and look up the schedule for next week, and I'm going to give you guys a quick assessment on what I think is going to happen. A bit of a quick prediction thing. If you guys actually want to see more predictions, I could make a video on Friday night. If you guys want more of a prediction video, let me know down below in the comments. If you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please, I urge you to click that subscribe button down below. First game on Saturday on ABC at 2 p.m. on March 7th is the Seattle Dragons versus the Houston Roughnecks. And I do not believe the Seattle Dragons want any of this smoke. I think that the Roughnecks absolutely smacked them up. But guys, the XFL seems like a whole different fucking breed. The XFL seems like anything can happen. I would not be surprised. I don't think that the Dragons are even any good. And I think that the Roughnecks are very good. I think that the Roughnecks have the potential to get smacked. Would I bet on that? No. I think the Dragons are going to end up getting bent over in Houston. The second game on Saturday is the 5 p.m. slot. The New York Guardians, my Guardians, going up against the Dallas Renegades. I am a homer. I am going to bet on the New York Football Guardians in this game, going up against the Dallas Renegades. Well, that's not even an if. Landry Jones ain't playing in this game on fucking Saturday. The New York Guardians are going to whoop the shit out of the Dallas Renegades. They stand no chance. They got their backup quarterback. We don't got Matt McGloin anymore. Our defense is buzzing. The New York Guardians are going to defeat the Dallas Renegades at home in Dallas. Now, starting off the Sunday slate at 3 p.m., we have the St. Louis Battlehawks going up against the DC Defenders. In this game, I believe that the DC Defenders will ultimately bounce back and put up a close game here. I think this is going to be a very close game. A lot of people are going to be off of the Defenders. I know I just slandered the Defenders, but I think they come back and play better up against the Battlehawks. But I do think at the end of the day, the St. Louis Battlehawks are victorious in DC in the final game on Sunday at 9 p.m. If I'm being honest with you guys, I don't like this. I don't know why the fuck they're playing at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. I don't know why they're doing that, but it's okay. They're going to be playing the Tampa Bay Vipers versus the LA Wildcats. Now, if you were asking me last week, Nick, who's going to win this game, I would say 1,000% the Wildcats would win this game. But this week, the Vipers literally laid the smackdown on the DC Defenders. It was like when Conor McGregor knocked that guy out in 13 seconds. That's what happened. The Wildcats are going to play close to the Vipers. I think that the Vipers end up coming back down to earth and losing this game. The LA Wildcats beat the Vipers by just a little bit. I think that is going to be a very good game. Now, if you guys have enjoyed the video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. Now, I'm going to throw up the standings up here right quick, but they're not technically official because, you know, it hasn't updated. I will click the refresh button real quick, though, and we can see, nope, they still have not updated the rankings. So, oh, actually, psych, just kidding. That's the wrong number they have. The St. Louis Battlehawks are now 3-1 atop of the XFL East. The DC Defenders are 2-2, 2-0 at home, 0-2 away. Just like the New York Football Guardians, 2-2, 2-0 at home, 0-2 away. The Guardians now come to, not the Guardians, the Vipers now 1-3. To me, I think that the East is going to be very close. I think that the East is probably going to be closer than the West because I think the Roughnecks are just so much better than the competition. 16 total touchdowns for the best touchdowns for in the XFL. The rest of the West, the Dallas Renegades 2-2, the Wildcats 1-3, and the Seattle Dragons are 1-3. I think that by far right now, if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that the Dragons are the worst team in the XFL. I don't think that the Dragons will be doing anything. I think that the Vipers are on the come up. Now, I think that at the end of the year, I'm going to give another prediction. I think that it's still going to be, I'm going to say Battlehawks versus Roughnecks. I know that that is a very basic prediction in the XFL championship game. I think that there is potential that the Defenders bounce back and are in that game. But for the West, it seems like the Roughnecks, unless their quarterback ends up dying, will be the best team in the XFL. XFL and will win the championship game. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If at any point you ended up enjoying, if at any point you ended up chuckling, make sure to click that subscribe button down below. Make sure to click on one of the videos that is also on your screen right now. Make sure to tell your loved ones that you love them. Make sure to have a blessed rest of your day, and tell your friends that this video was funny and amazing so they will watch it as well. I love you all. Goodbye.